Hello, my name is Michael Stone. I'm the creator of NeuroDynamic Breathwork, and today I'm going to share with you some of the science behind neurodynamic breathwork. Breathwork and expanded states of awareness. In breathwork and also in psychedelic journeys, we can have what is called expanded state of awareness experiences. That is, experiences in which we can, among other things, access and work with material from our unconscious mind, expand our sense of who we are, and have mystical experiences that are not available in our normal everyday state of awareness. In this presentation, we will discuss the science behind how some of these experiences can happen. In ancient and prehistorical societies, breath was used as one of the principal tools for healing practice and self-realization, which is even reflected in their languages. In Chinese, qi means air that we breathe and also the energy of life. In Hebrew, ruach means both breath and creative spirit. And in Latin, spiritus means both breath and spirit. A theory about what happens when you give yourself permission to release, close your eyes, and breathe faster and deeper to music. And we'll talk about the physiological impact, the psychological impact, the impact of the music, and the impact of the sharing circle. So first, a simplified explanation of the physiological impact. Hyperventilation, and hyperventilation is simply defined as breathing more quickly than normal, causes loss of CO2 in the blood. The body compensates by creating more, and the process of CO2 creation lowers blood acidity, so blood temporarily becomes more alkaline. Hyperventilation has effects on the blood vessels. It can increase the blood flow in the forearms and other large muscles, and decrease it in the hands, feet, certain specific parts of the brain, and intestines. So the high alkalinity, lower CO2 results, as we just said, in decreased cerebral blood flow in some parts of the brain, and this results in reduced electrical activity in those areas. One of the parts of the brain that is most heavily impacted is the frontal cortex, which is a part of the default mode network, or DMN. So what is a DMN? The DMN was not known to brain science until 2001, and it is quieted in psychedelic sessions, in expert meditators, and in breathwork. What are the components of the default mode network? The main lobes are the posterior cingulate cortex, or PCC, the medial prefrontal cortex, or MPFC, and the other lobes are the anterior cingulate cortex, the hippocampus, the lateral temporal cortex, and the inferior parietal cortex. What is the role of the default mode network in the brain? The DMN is the orchestra conductor of the brain. It controls which signals get precedence, thus inhibiting certain other parts of the brain. And it's active when not performing a specific task. It plays a role in the creation of mental constructs, the most important of which is the self or ego. It's important for survival, but also results in a sense of separation from others and nature. And when activity in the default mode network falls off significantly, the ego mind can temporarily lose its hold over you. There's also another network in the brain called the task positive network, or TPN. Both networks involve different parts of the brain, and the default mode network is primarily active when daydreaming, when attention is unfocused, and parts of this network are responsible for mental constructs such as self and ego. The task positive network, or TPN, is active when we have a mental or physical task that we are focused on. And activity in these two areas of the brain are overall negatively correlated with each other. So if there's a lot of activity in the default mode network, there would be very little activity in the task positive network, and vice versa. What are the ways to quiet the default mode network? Psychedelics, breathwork, and meditation. In psychedelics, neuroimaging studies have consistently shown that psychedelics like LSD and psilocybin significantly reduce blood flow and oxygen to the DMN, and that this correlates with the experiencing of ego dissolution or losing the sense of self. In breathwork, it's theorized to also reduce blood flow and O2 to the default mode network, resulting in less activity. In mindfulness meditation, the task positive network is our direct line to mindfulness. It's theorized that intense focus on the breath switches the brain to the task positive network and thus reduces activity in the default mode network, thus reducing the control functions of the DMN. And just to note, we have an instruction in the first part of our breathing sessions, which is, in the beginning, focus all of your attention, all of your being on the breath, and then maintain full attention on your inner process. And this is hypothesized to support the weakening of the default mode network in the same way that meditation does. Michael Pollan wrote a very well-known book a few years ago, and one of the quotes from the book is, "The mystical experience may be just what it feels like when you deactivate the brain's default mode network. This can be achieved any number of ways, through psychedelics and meditation, but perhaps also by means of certain breathing exercises like holotropic breathwork." In the neurodynamic breathwork, the breathing technique we use is very similar to the one used in holotropic breathwork. What are other effects of the decrease in DMN or default mode network activity? The DMN exerts inhibitory influence on other parts of the brain, including the limbic regions involving emotion and memory. So brain scans show increase in activity in these limbic regions, as measured by increase in blood flow and O2 consumption, when DMN activity is suppressed. This disinhibition could explain why previously unavailable emotions, memories, and sometimes childhood traumas then float from unconscious to surface of awareness. And that's another quote from the Pollan book. And we were just talking about the limbic system, so this is to show you what it is. Voluntary hyperventilation study. And voluntary hyperventilation is in essence what we do in breathwork. Voluntary hyperventilation has been associated with temporarily reduced MR signal in the frontal cortex that resolves quickly upon cessation of hyperventilation. This may cause a temporary weakening of the inhibitory action of the frontal lobes upon cognition, resulting in disinhibition of previously avoided or suppressed internal stimuli. So this quote from a Reinwein and Williams study in holotropic breathwork kind of backs up the previous quote from the Michael Pollan book. The psychological and somatic effects of breathwork. First of all, psychologically, permission to release. Just giving yourself permission to release, as we do in breathwork, sometimes allows the breathwork process to begin even before the deep breathing starts, like during the relaxation. It's incredibly powerful. We normally tell ourselves to suppress the negative emotions, keep them in our body. So when we flip that around and start giving ourselves permission to release, the body's ready to go sometimes. So it's incredibly powerful, just giving yourself this permission to release. And also, Wilhelm Reich, a very well-known psychologist, has found that restricted breathing is associated with psychological resistance and defenses, and faster, deeper breathing typically loosens psychological defenses and leads to emergence and release of unconscious material. So this is part of what allows the faster, deeper breathing and breath work to do what it does. Somatic effects. Faster, deeper breathing can create symptoms that represent intensification of pre-existing psychosomatic symptoms, which is physical symptoms caused or aggravated by mental factors, and make it possible to trace these symptoms to their sources in the unconscious, such as traumatic biographical events, biological birth, transpersonal gestalts, etc. And one of the prominent somatic experiences in breathwork is known as tetany. What are the possible causes of tetany in breathwork? Tetany is a feeling of strong tension in the extremities, most commonly in the hands. And according to Dr. Stanislav Grof, faster breathing creates a biochemical situation in the body that facilitates emergence of old emotional and physical tensions associated with unresolved psychological and physical traumas. This actually represents a unique opportunity for healing. And continued breathing alone typically leads to culmination and resolution of tetany. In addition, tetany can also resolve through emotional and physical release. Repeated sessions tend to eliminate the occurrence of these tensions. So in breathwork, tetany is theorized to be an attempt by the body to release emotional and physical tensions. However, there can also be physiological causes. Dramatically low calcium level, also known as hypocalcemia. And this can be caused by, among other things, hypoparathyroidism, vitamin D deficiency, or a very poor diet, or also magnesium deficiency, or too little potassium. The effect of music. First, we're going to talk about music in psychedelics for a moment. And music helps in psychedelic expanded state sessions by enhancing mental imagery, allowing people to relinquish usual controls, or in other words, letting go, facilitating the release of intense emotionality, and contributing toward a peak experience. And music is theorized to function in a similar way in breathwork as in psychedelic sessions. Music has been used for centuries as a principal tool in shamanic practices, healing rituals, and rites of passage. Music is an essential component in the breathwork process. In neurodynamic breathwork, carefully chosen music, permission to release, and faster, deeper breathing are woven together in a cosmic dance of opening up, surrendering, and letting go. In terms of the trajectory of the music, in NDB, we use a scientifically designed music trajectory to optimize the breathing experience. And now I'll talk for a moment about the limits of science. Consciousness seems to play a large role in expanded state of awareness experiences available through breathwork and psychedelics. However, science still has a very limited understanding of what consciousness actually is or how it works. And in breathwork, I have seen in a large number of cases where breathers have experiences related to consciousness that cannot be fully explained by mainstream science. One area is transpersonal experiences, where people have experiences of unity, of oneness, of universal love, of everything being connected in a very beautiful way, of going beyond their normal everyday state of consciousness where they're, in a sense, in their skin encapsulated ego. There is even an entire branch of psychology called transpersonal psychology, which is a transformative psychology of the whole person, not just as an individual, but as part of a diverse, interconnected, and evolving cosmos. And there are many other examples. So some examples include seeing what is happening with relatives in other parts of the world that breathers then find out was accurate, seeing themselves in the body of one of their parents when they were a child, and seeing things that happened to their parents that they had never been told, in utero experiences, some relief of physical symptoms that have emotional or psychological roots and have been present for years or decades. And sometimes the experiences can be like getting downloads on issues that have been plaguing them for years or decades, where they finally see the answer, or getting clear on why they are not manifesting the life that they want, or getting clear on their purpose in life after decades of trying to figure it out. And throughout history, people have had these types of unexplainable experiences in all different cultures. For a reference on some of these types of experiences that people have had through breathwork, you can read When the Impossible Happens, Adventures in Non-Ordinary Realities by Dr. Stanislav Grof. So in my own experience, I've had these types of experiences many times through participating in a large number of breathwork sessions. I have found my purpose in life, understood what my superpower is, that unique ability that I have that I can contribute to the world, understood why I could not have a successful relationship, a problem that had been tormenting me for decades, felt a sense of unity with the universe that I'd never felt before, and finally feeling that the universe is a safe place where everything is happening for me, not to me. A clear sense that I am not my body and I'm not my thoughts, that there is something much deeper and more profound going on, that I am a consciousness, an observer that can watch my thoughts and everything else that is happening in my reality. Created a strong connection to my heart, and as a result, becoming a more kind, generous, compassionate human being. And most importantly, created a strong connection to that part of my psyche that I have found has all of the answers that I need. For instance, when I host breathwork sharing circles, when somebody is talking about their experience and has a question or is stuck, I don't have to think about the answer. I just know exactly what to say. It just flows out of me very naturally. I could never do that before breathwork. So what can we make of all of this? What seems obvious from seeing and hearing about all of these experiences and from my own personal experiences is that there is a part of the psyche that has a drive towards healing and wholeness and has all of the answers that we need that is still not completely understood by modern science. And I call this part of the psyche the inner guiding intelligence, or IGI. So what is our inner guiding intelligence? And the below is a hypothesis based on space-time theories and current physics. And again, it's only a hypothesis. This is not really currently in mainstream science yet. So here we go. Our brain is not a standalone information processing organ. It acts as a central part of our integral nervous system with recurrent information exchange with the entire organism in the cosmos. We find support for a universal information matrix in a spectrum of space-time theories in current physics. The presence of a field-receptive resonant workspace associated with, but not reducible to, our brain may provide an interpretation framework for widely reported but poorly understood transpersonal conscious states and algorithmic origin of life. It also points out the deep connection of mankind with the cosmos and our major responsibility for the future of our planet. So let's turn to neuroscience a little bit. And there's a very, very well-known and accepted theory that neurons that fire together wire together. It was first said by Donald Hebb, who's a neuropsychologist. And what it means is that in essence, every experience, thought, feeling, and physical sensation triggers thousands of neurons which form a neural network. And when you repeat an experience over and over, the brain learns to trigger the same neurons each time. And it's hypothesized that through this mechanism, regular breathwork strengthens the neural pathways to what I call your inner guiding intelligence, or IGI. So to test this hypothesis, we have been offering 20 live breathwork sessions every month for the last 4 years to allow our breathers to make breathwork into a consistent practice, to really test the hypothesis. Will this really work? And it seems to be working very well. In one of our recent surveys, just under 2/3 of our regular NeuroDynamic Breathwork participants stated that they gained better access to what they saw as their inner guiding intelligence as a result of their online breathwork sessions, and 60% reported gaining better connection to their own intuition. So let's talk for a moment of the impact on the post-breathwork sharing circle and integration. So once the breathwork session is complete, there is a sharing circle where breathers acknowledge their experience from their expanded state of awareness. And because there are no words in that realm, mostly emotions and images, breathers now have to choose words and create sentences to describe their experiences. Once the breather talks about or journals about it, it transforms or connects the right brain breathing experience to a left brain experience, which welcomes the information from the subconscious level to the surface conscious level so that you can start to consciously examine it and analyze it or revisit it in the future to find the meaning or message brought to your awareness from your unconscious mind. Breathers also report that being part of the sharing circle can be as powerful as the breathwork itself. And when holding space for others that are sharing, it cultivates compassion within and a feeling of connectedness with all of humanity. And what I mean by holding space is in a breathwork circle, there's one person sharing and the other people in the breathing circle, and this can be in person or online, are being present, being in a non-judgmental, loving space to energetically support the person who is sharing in opening up and being vulnerable and saying what they need to say. And here are just a few shares from our regular breathers. I notice I've become more in tune with my emotions and really feel my emotions rather than dismissing and discounting them or letting them pass by. A new mental emotional bridge has started to open up that not only allows for a clear insight to life, but also an improved way of discovering solutions to life's problems, enhancing creativity and loving deeper. I experienced a sense, a glimpse, a spark of wholeness deep in my soul. It was real and profound. I saw that this state or frequency is going to grow in my life as I continue to do the breath work and especially integration. There is nothing better than to be whole, complete, and connected within, and the work is absolutely worth it. The goddess within is born. I have gently, progressively released a substantial amount of stress, anxiety, grief, and physical tension that I was carrying in my body. I am becoming a happier, calmer, more grounded person thanks to doing neurodynamic breathwork on a regular basis. Also, my imagination and creativity are coming back to life after these many years. I have explored many other types of breathwork, but I have to say that my real journey began when I found your classes. At this time, I attend 1 or 2 sessions with you per week. The progress has been nothing short of astonishing. I'm 62 years old, and for the first time in my life, I am thriving. Actually thriving and excited to begin each day. Not a single thing has changed in my life, but I have. That is the end of my presentation on the science of breathwork. Thank you for watching.